Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, total world victory of Hare Krishna. It's Bhagavad-gita, the song of God, as it is by his divine grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, text, chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness, text number 15. My name is Sitapati Das. It's Ekadashi. Let's go. This one? There we go. Okay. Nādatte kasyacit pāpaṁ, caiva sukṛtaṁ vibhu, ajñānenāvṛtaṁ jñānam, tena muhyanti jantavaḥ. Never. Ādatte, accepts. Kasyacit, anyone's. Pāpam, sin. Nor. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Sukṛtam, pious activities. Vibhu, the Supreme Lord. Ajñānena, by ignorance. āvṛtam, covered. Jñānam, knowledge. Tena, by that. Muhyanti, bewildered. Jantavaḥ, the living entities. Give me 1 second here. Sorry for the interruption. That was my wife. She's just leaving work. Where do we get to? Vibhu, the Supreme Lord. Ajñānena, by ignorance. We did that. āvṛtam, covered. Jñānam, knowledge. Tena, by that. Muhyanti, bewildered. Jantavaḥ, the living entities. I think we might have gotten to there. Translation. Nor does the Supreme Spirit assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Sanskrit word vibhu means the Supreme Lord who is full of unlimited knowledge, riches, strength, fame, beauty, and renunciation. He is always satisfied in himself, undisturbed by sinful or pious activities. He does not create a particular situation for any living entity, but the living entity, bewildered by ignorance, desires to be put into certain conditions of life, and thereby his chain of action and reaction begins. The living entity is, by superior nature, full of knowledge. Nevertheless, he is prone to be influenced by ignorance due to his limited power. The Lord is omnipotent, but the living entity is not. The Lord is vibhu, or omniscient, but the living entity is anu, or atomic. Because he is a living soul, he has the capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled only by the omnipotent Lord. And so, when the living entity is bewildered in his desires, the Lord allows him to fulfill those desires, but the Lord is never responsible for the actions and reactions of the particular situation which may be desired. Being in a bewildered condition, therefore, the embodied soul identifies himself with the circumstantial material body and becomes subjected to the temporary misery and happiness of life. The Lord is the constant companion of the living entity as Paramatma, or supersoul, the supersoul, and therefore he can understand the desires of the individual soul as one can smell the flavor of a flower by being near it. Desire is a subtle form of conditioning of the living entity. The Lord fulfills his desire as he deserves. Man proposes and God disposes. The individual is not, therefore, omnipotent in fulfilling his desires. The Lord, however, can fulfill all desires. And the Lord, being neutral to everyone, does not interfere with the desires of the minute independent living entities. However, when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that one can attain to him and be eternally happy. The Vedic hymn therefore declares, Esha uhyeva sadhu karma karayati natam yamebhyo lokebhya uninishate. Esha eva sadhu karma karayati yamado ninishate. Agyo janturanisho yam atmana sukadukayo ishvara prerito gachet svargam vashvabhramevacha. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities so he may be elevated. The Lord engages him in impious activities so he may go to hell. The living entity is completely dependent on his distress and happiness. By the will of the Supreme, he can go to heaven or hell as a cloud is driven by the air. Therefore, the embodied soul, by his immemorial desire to avoid Krishna consciousness, causes his own bewilderment. Consequently, though he is constitutionally eternal, blissful, and cognizant, due to the littleness of his existence, he forgets his constitutional position of service to the Lord and is thus entrapped by nescience. And under the spell of ignorance, the living entity claims that the Lord is responsible for his conditional existence. The Vedanta Sutras also confirm this. Vaishamya nairgrinye nasapekshatvat tatahi darshayati. The Lord neither hates nor likes anyone, though he appears to. Om jnanatimidandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshu unmilitam yena tasmai sri gurave namaha. Let's look at this in context. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the results of all activities to me, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature, nor does the Supreme Spirit assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. We're going to look at the changes in a minute. Let's just look at this structure of this purport. The Supreme Lord is vibhu. The living entity is anu, or atomic. Because he is a living soul, he has the capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled only by the omnipotent Lord. Desire is a subtle form of conditioning of the living entity. So, you wake up in the morning, and even if you look at preference as a desire, you preferentially desire some things and not others. Nobody desires to smell dog stool in the normal course of events. And then, we may like to smell a flower or a particular perfume or some aroma. But we don't give so much thought in the normal course of events to where does that preference or that desire come from. Like someone says, do you like vanilla or chocolate, or do you like jam or Vegemite? If you're from New Zealand, Australia, you'll know what I'm talking about. A preference for certain things. And we oftentimes in language will express those preferences, and then like goal-motivated entities, we go towards those goals and away from the ones that we don't want. But we never, or very rarely, do we look at where do these desires come from? Why do I desire vanilla or chocolate? I didn't choose that. I didn't wake up desireless and then decide that, oh, I want to like chocolate more than vanilla. No. We just accept it. This is the conditioning of the living entity. Hare Krishna, Gita Patel. Hare Krishna. Thank you for tuning in. Where do these desires come from? It is a subtle form of conditioning of the living entity. On the largest macro sense, we see that we take birth in this lifetime in a human body. Another jiva soul takes birth in the body of a cow. And then the jiva in the body of the cow likes to do things that cows like to do, eat the grass, wander around. And then the jiva soul in the human body likes to do things that humans like to do. Even though these days we see people who, they want to be a cat or a dog. But generally speaking, we desire the foods that humans, this is all conditioning of the body, covering of the soul. So neither do we really choose our desires, nor can we directly fulfill them ourselves. Every fulfillment of these desires requires some facility that is not created by us. It is available here externally somehow in this material nature, which is produced by the Supreme Lord. So neither in our desires themselves nor the fulfillment of our desires do we have any direct agency. We are simply experiencing these things. This is what it means to be atomic. We have the capacity to desire, but the desire is fulfilled by the omnipotent Lord. We, the living entity, are bewildered in our desires, and desire is a subtle form of conditioning of the living entity. We're not omnipotent in fulfilling our desires, but the Lord can fulfill all desires. And then the point that Srila Prabhupada is making here is that when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that one can attain to him and be eternally happy. The material world, the material nature is like a prison house designed to cover over the living entities and have them forget the Supreme Person. It is only here in the material world that you can be an atheist. But even to be an atheist here is just like a diseased condition of life, because it is a form of ignorance. You can pretend that nobody knows where anything comes from or what it is. It is a world for the amnesiac living entities to experience, among other things, basically every possible experience. This world is the universe experiencing itself. But then also the path of spiritual awakening and enlightenment and the reestablishment of one's forgotten relationship with God, the development of Krishna consciousness. It's a special feature of this material world. And then also the activity of sharing Krishna with other living entities who are forgetful. Let's have a look at the changes. So between edition 1 and 2, Supreme Spirit went to Supreme Lord. That one makes sense. You see vibhu, the Supreme Lord, and the word for word got changed to the Supreme Spirit in the translation. And in Srila Prabhupada's original manuscript, he said the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not accept anyone's sinful or pious activities. But going from Supreme Spirit to Supreme Lord is not the same as going back to the manuscript, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's a change, but it's not a change in line with the manuscript. It is, however, a change in line with the word for word. Vibhu, it's a slight change there. Desire is a subtle form of conditioning for the living entity rather than of the living entity. It's been changed there. Have a look. Desire is a subtle form of conditioning. Conditioning of the living entity. Of got changed to for. Okay. Independent UK spelling to American. Vedic hymn to hymns. This is why I was stumbling when I was reading this next part, because I remember hearing Isabella speaking about hymn to hymn. So I wonder if she did this verse. She may have done this verse yesterday, in which case you're doubling up. The Vedic hymns, it's been changed from hymn to hymns, and then the verb has been changed to agree with the number. The Vedic hymns, therefore, Vedic hymn therefore declares, okay, the Vedic hymns therefore declares, so yeah, there was a number misagreement there. And the first edition editor made the subject agree with the number of the verb, and then the second edition they've gone the other way. Okay, and then in the second edition they have done what? What's happened here? The Vedic hymns therefore declare, the Vedic hymns declares, and then there's this Aisha. Yep, there's all of that part there to there. Then the Lord engages living entity in pious activities, may go to hell up to there, has been moved under that. The Kal Setaki Upanishad 3.8 reference has been added. And then this next one here, the living entity is completely dependent in his distress and happiness. Yep. By the will of the Supreme, he can go to heaven or hell as a cloud is driven by the air, with no reference there. Okay. Let's try this. What if we grab this here and ask to ChatGPT 3? So look at this. Where is this quote? See what it says about this. Yeah, the verse is from the ancient Indian scripture, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, Text 1. Is it? 331.1. Let's have a look. The Bhagavatam 3:31.1. No, that's not what it says. 3:31.1. Let's try this. It just completely made that up. Let's go search. Let's try to punch it in here and search like this. We'll go back here and say, are you sure? I apologize. No, it's not. It's 555. It reckons. āvṛtam. Evacha. Okay, it reckons it's 555. Let's have a look. Bhagavatam 555. Not even close. Are you sure about that? Okay, this thing is like... It's gone back to 331.1. Okay. So let's see if Google can find it. No. Okay. So it's of an unknown origin, and so yeah, we're not able to improve on the second edition. Okay, and then down here, the Vedanta Sutras 2.134. Okay. Browser's lost connection to the camera. Ping. We're back. Okay, so yeah, the Vedic hymns therefore declare. These are kind of meddling edits. Although, because these are two different ones that seem to be from different places. The Kasyacit Upanishad. I wonder if the text is well, let's try this. Let's chuck this in and ask ChatGPT, where's this from? Where is this verse from? Let's see if it can correctly identify Upanishads, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Taking them to higher or lower worlds, leading based on elevated, higher or lower. Yeah, okay. So basically, you know, the Vedic worldview is that the transmigration of the soul going to different situations of life. It's from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Okay, so this is it's a different, well, according to this, in the second edition, they say it's 3.8. First chapter, second chapter, third chapter. Verse 3. Translation, Persian, medieval times. Interesting. Dun, dun, dun. 3.8, 1861. Yeah, let's see if we can find chapter 3. Preface. Okay. Here's the original text, but is there like a translation? Loading. The way Srila Prabhupada presented his is masterful because you can see the, you got the Devanagari there, you got the transliteration word for word, the translation, and then purport. It's only when you look into other translations that you... Okay, here we go. Second chapter. It's only when you look at these other translations that you really appreciate it. 3.8. Third chapter, text number 8. 1, 2, big verses in the translation. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. It is not increased by good deeds, it is not decreased by bad deeds. Verily, him it causes to do good deeds, whom it desires to uplift from these worlds, while him it causes to do bad deeds, whom it desires to sink down. Okay. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities so he may be elevated. The Lord engages him in impious activities so he may go to hell. I wonder where this second verse is from. So yeah, this appears to be this verse from there. I wonder how pre-internet, like, let's have a look. Did they do this in 1983? Yeah, they did. How'd they do this in 1983? This verse and the next are quoted by the commentator Madhusudan Sarasvati. Okay. I know how they did it. Yeah. Bhagavad-gita commentaries. That's how they did it. They didn't go like searching, because, I mean, we can Google it and cross-reference a lot of stuff. But in 83, before the internet, they couldn't do that. But they read Bhagavad-gita commentaries where the commentator has given the reference of where it came from. Madhusudana Sarasvati. So let's have a look at that. Madhusudana Sarasvati Bhagavad-gita commentary. Who is this Madhusudan Sarasvati? Advaita, devotee of Krishna, disciple of Vishveshwara Sarasvati and Madhava Sarasvati. The Jñānamṛtaṁ of Vyasatirtha, a text criticizing the Advaita view, caused a furor in the Advaita community, resulting in a series of scholarly debates over centuries. Madhusudana composed Advaita Siddhi, a line-by-line refutation of Jñānamṛtaṁ. In response to Advaita Siddhi, the Dvaita scholars Vyasa Ramacharya and Ananda Bhattaraka wrote Jñānamṛtaṁ Tarangini, wave of Jñānamṛtaṁ. It's like the nectar of logic. And Jñānamṛtaṁ Kantakodara, challenged. Okay, so they were Dvaitans. Let's have a look at, let's see what means this. Jñānamṛtaṁ Tarangini. Break down the individual words for you. Nyaya and Amruta, system of Indian logic. Nectar, yeah, a river or a stream. A river or stream of the nectar of logic or epistemology. Yeah, that's what I thought it would translate to. Very interesting. Defense and exposition of Advaita Vedanta. 5 commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, parts of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Navya Nyaya, new logic techniques. Srimad Bhagavad Gita with the commentaries. Here we go. The Gudarta Dipika. Gudarta Dipika. The Gudarta Dipika. It's not listed in here. Madhusudana boldly differs from Adi Shankara in some of his interpretations of the Brahma Sutras, that's the Vedanta Sutra, and the Gita, although he salutes Adi Shankara and Sureshwara in the most reverential terms. Madhusudan Sarasvati. Okay. Let's see. Do you know who Madhusudan Sarasvati is? Yep. Prominent Indian philosopher, saint, 16th. Here we go. The Gudarta Dipika, most famous work. Commentary on the Bhagavad Gita in which he combines the devotional aspects of the Gita with non-dualistic Advaita philosophy. Defense of Advaita. Okay. Although an Advaitin, he was also deeply devotional. Transition from Vaishnavism. Over time, his perspective shifted. Deep devotion to Krishna remained. Interesting. How does he compare with Jnaneshwara. Or is it Jnaneshwara? Jnaneshwara. Jnaneshwara. Yep, that's him. Both significant, they hail from different traditions, times, and regions. Their contributions are distinct. 16th century, 13th century, the Bhakti movement, resurgence of Advaita, and the presence of other luminaries like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Madhusudan Saraswati was a contemporary of Mahaprabhu. A proponent of Advaita, he combined non-dualistic teachings with deep devotion to Krishna. Renowned for his Jnaneshwari or Jnaneshwari Marathi commentary on the Bhagavad-gita, that I have read also. The Amrutanubhav, profound mystical treatise. Okay, interesting. 515. Let's see if we can find 515 in this Gita. Oh, it's all in Sanskrit. And it's a picture, so I can't grab the text. Yes, I can. Okay. Let's see if we can find 515 then. Okay. Let's see what happens if I just drop this into ChatGPT. Modified or misspelled version. 6.3. Okay, so we're a little bit too far in. That's 6.3. Let's go back to here. Let's try this verse. This is incredible that you can actually do this. 2023. Maybe a problem with the character encoding. 519. Okay, that's 519. So if that's 519, 518, 517, 516, this one here should be 515. Let's drop this in. See what it says. This appears to be a misspelled or misquoted. Oh no, it's just straight up. Okay. Okay, cool. So let us then see if we can grab, what are these? It's just this whole page here. Okay, let's try this part here. What does this say? Anandagiri. Okay. Sub-commentaries on Adi Shankara. So that's Anandagiri's commentary. Let's see what this one here is. Commentary by Nilakanta. Okay. Humans augmented by artificial intelligence. Me and ChatGPT. What's this? Chaturi. Madhusudani Vyakavya. Okay. Madhusudana Saraswati. Okay, so this is Madhusudan Saraswati's commentary here. Just this one part there. Then, so this one, I'd imagine, is another commentary. Yes. Bhasha commentary, yeah. Utka Sandipika. Okay, well, let's have a look at what Madhusudan's Vyakarana. Vakya. Okay, here we go. Okay. It's actually just switched fully to Sanskrit now. Yeah, okay. Can you give me that in English? Busting out full Sanskrit. It says thus, in the absolute sense, the Supreme Lord, vibhu, Parameshwara, does not take on the sins or merits of any living entity. This is because the living entity has its own independent existence and the Supreme Lord is without any ulterior motives. Then how is it that scriptures and societal norms speak in a certain manner? So probably the point that we're being made there is, in that case, no, I don't want to speculate about that. This is, okay, let's try this. We'll grab this whole section here and say, please respond in English. Big chunk. Why do people engage in the worship of the Lord? Yeah, this this part here, the 2:134, the Lord neither hates nor likes anyone, though he appears to. Let me ask about this. Vedanta Sutra 2:134, is that it? 2:134, yeah. What happens if we ask about that? It's going to give us the text for it. This addresses the misconception that God might be biased. Second Adhyaya chapter, first pada section of the Brahma Sutra. The sutra reads, which pastime in the Srimad Bhagavatam, commentary on this verse. Are you sure about that? Okay. Tad adigama tad adigamad virodo nachanyaha. Yeah, you're right. Actually, it is this one. Okay. There is neither partiality nor cruelty in Brahman due to its dependence on karma of jivas, for scriptures demonstrate this. God appears partial or cruel by bestowing different results to different beings. Why do bad things happen to good people, right? So the Vedanta Sutra itself, the Vedanta Sutra is a examination of all the great philosophical kind of debates in the Vedic corpus, and why do bad things happen to good people or good things happen to bad people is the obvious, is a classic problem. Let's see Which pastime from the Bhagavatam can it name it? Jai and Vijay. Okay. Yeah. Yes. What was I going to say? I think I was going to say Hiranyakashipu, the Supreme Lord, is equal to all. Yeah. So here it is here. Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. So at the deeper level, yeah, the pastime is Jai and Vijay. Okay, anyway, this is like really geeking out on the Shastra here. Let's go to translating the Gita to Tereo Maori. So today's Tereo Maori lesson. Namaskar. Hare Krishna. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, Wairua Nui, the Supreme Spirit. Let's get Google to double check ChatGPT's work. The Great Spirit does not believe in the sins or virtues of others. On the other hand, people in the body become confused because ignorance interferes with their real knowledge. Beautiful. Yeah, that's great. Love it. I don't know about believes. Assume whakapono. Te whakapono. Ka ore hoki te wairua nui whakapono ki ngā mahihara. He pai rā nei a te tahi. Ena ri ka whakaporea rea. Nā tangata kei roto I te tinana nā te mea ko te kore mohio. I whakararuraru ana I tō rātou mātauranga tūturu. Whakararuraru, confusion, mātauranga, intelligence, tangata, the people. Wairua Nui, the Supreme Spirit. Mahi hara, sinful activities. He pai rā nei, or pious. E te tahi. Are bewildered ka whakaporearea. Nā tangata, embodied being, people. E whakararuraru ana. I tō rātou. I tō rātou. Mātauranga. Tūturu. Okay, let's go back to the Sanskrit and finish for today. Nādatte kasyacit pāpam, caiva sukṛtaṁ vibhu, ajñānenāvṛtaṁ jñānam, tena muhyanti jantavaḥ. Nor does the Supreme Spirit assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, total world victory of Hare Krishna. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of the day today. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada.